Morning, everybody. It's 8:35 a.m. It's October 4th, 2022. We got a big gap up going in the markets right now. Um, Definitely got our hands on a bear market rally right now. Hope everybody had a good day trading yesterday. Let's just get into these charts. Let's go into that daily chart of the SPY, and let's see what we have going. Okay, so what happened yesterday? Basically, came in, found the low overnight. Now this doesn't show that in the SPY, but in the SPY we basically came up, hit the daily 9 EMA, broke this trend line, okay, which is a very bullish move. We had some ISM manufacturing data that came out that was negative, which is actually positive, which actually sent the market higher because it's showing that the Fed tightening is actually hurting the economy, which is bullish. That's what helped out the markets. Also, there's a lot of bond buying happening, so that'll also help the markets. So yeah, we came up right to the 9 daily EMA, broke this trend line, and had a nice little rally day. What do we have going in the Qs? All right, so the Qs also came up to this trend line. Didn't quite get up to the 9 EMA then daily. But see, the Qs only went up to the highs of Friday. Okay. Still had a nice day though. Let me go back to the SPY. And let's see, the SPY was stronger. It took out Friday's high. The Qs didn't. Something to look at, right? Obviously, we have a big gap to talk about, so we'll get into that. Let's get into what I said previous videos last week about support, right, in the SPY. I'm not saying this is the bottom. I did mention this 200 moving average on the weekly did act as support. It was very hard to cut through on the SPY and on the Qs, right? So that's the SPY. This is a weekly chart. And there's the Qs. And there's that 200 moving average. Last week it closed above it, and now we're above it. I guess, a very hard level to get through, right? So let's look at the SPY and let's look at some levels. Okay, so obviously this 370 level was a big resistance. Well, that's been broken, and our next big level of resistance is going to be 373.44. Okay, yesterday I said this 364 363 level, we needed to find acceptance above it, and we did, and then we moved higher, right? So that's the 373.44 level, and the SPY is what we need to look at today, because we have a gap that still has not been filled. There's a gap right here that still hasn't been filled. SPY is at 371 right now. Okay, and the gap fill on this would be 373.44, the level that I was talking about earlier. That would be a gap fill. Okay, the Qs filled the gap in the past, so that doesn't have a gap to fill. So that's very key level. Okay, the low of this day, which is the gap fill. 373.44. Okay, let's go to those Qs. Okay, level that we're looking at today, the resistance level 280.33. 280.33. This has been resistant. Okay, that's the level that found resistance last night, overnight. Okay, again, we got over the 274 level I talked about, and then we moved higher, right? So that's 280, and then we have 285 above as well. Okay, let's talk about, you guys know we have to look at that 10-year. 10-year yield, look what happened. I talked about it yesterday. We're in a downtrend, right? This is the uptrend line. We broke the uptrend line today or yesterday. Then we came up, but then look, we're actually lower today again. The TNX is down 1.31%. It's at 3.6 right now. So we're breaking this trend line. Okay, I don't know if it gets stable here or we fall. Obviously, if we start to dip below, that's going to be good for equities. Okay, this TNX is the inverse of the SPY. Very important, right? So far, you can see how this has been the smart money. Up, 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 up. Market's been going down, down, down. Now look, the bond market's been telling us something, right? It's been going down, and now we're moving up. Right? The move up on the equities hasn't happened yet until yesterday. The bond market was falling before that. So this is a leading indicator. Let's check in with the VIX. We hit a high of 34.82 here, but now we're underneath 30. We're at 29.28 right now. Okay, so volatility has come off. All right, let's get into those futures. Okay. So that big level I was speaking about yesterday, the 36.55, 36.50, right here. Okay, I said we needed to find acceptance over that level when we move higher. Well, there was the volume that found acceptance over, and we, boom, pushed higher. I even made a short on YouTube about like, hey, we're at that level. If we hold above it, we should move higher, and we did. Okay. I don't know if anybody's aware, but I've been trying to do more intraday little videos to just show where the levels that I spoke about in pre-market. So hopefully if you guys are seeing those, I'll continue to do them. All right, so yesterday was a big day, right? Kind of pretty much all these shorts covered here. Okay, so yesterday was a very short cover rally with the ISM data being negative, which was positive for the market. Okay, and also all the bond buying that was happening with the TNX falling. Okay, so what do we have now? Okay, we're gapping up. That's a pretty large gap. Okay, ES is up 1.5%. NQ Nasdaq's up 1.85. It's actually stronger. And sorry about that, my phone was still on. Okay, so the Russell's up 1.6%. Crude is up 1.88%. Okay, bonds are up. People are buying bonds, which is going to make the yields go down, which is again positive for the market, right? So silver had a monster day yesterday too. Anyway, So what do we have going now? We're gapping up. We're at 37.44. Price is right here, that little dot. Okay. So important levels for today. Okay. This is the gap that has not been filled still. Gaps don't get filled overnight. This does not count. It only happens in the RTH session. Okay. Once 9:30 starts, that's the only time when this gap will be deemed as filled. Okay, so this overnight activity does not count. And where did we get selling? We couldn't. We came almost up to the top of the gap in the overnight. We came up right here, and now we're starting to get some selling. Okay, that's the reason why. Profit taking. Okay, so we have a large gap. Those are hard to read. Large gaps are hard to read. So I'll be the first one to tell you that they're hard to read. This is a fairly large one. We're up about 30 points right now, 30 handles from the highs. Okay, and actually from the settlement, from the close, we're actually up about close to 40, almost 50 handles. So it's a pretty large gap. Okay, some leaders on the board right now: Coin, Amazon, Tesla, AMD, Snow, Nvidia. Those are the pre-market strength. Pre-market strength in sectors. We got semiconductors, energy, believe it or not, basic materials, discretionary. Discretionary is Amazon, Tesla, Home Depot. And then we have XLK, which is technology, which is Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, AMD. Okay, followed by financials. So that's what we have going on right now. Okay, so this is still the area, this gap. It's just a very significant area while we got selling. Okay, so a couple things happened. Okay, if you noticed now, this level here, this hot pink line, is the most traded price of the last month, which is 36.70. That has moved down. So this is ultimate balance here. Okay, this is our bull bear line, because you also have the most traded price of the week, 36.55. Count this as one big area. Okay, we don't want to go under here. Again, if you want to continue movement higher, you don't want to fall under these levels, because that is no good. We start going back through this level, all these longs are going to have to liquidate. Okay, that's just very important. Okay, now let's look at the one other thing I always look at: the composite volume profile. Okay, here we go. What do you guys notice? You see, right? This is a bell curve. That's a completed profile. That's why the value's here at the big level I told you guys about. And now look, we have excess. There's not a lot of volume up here. Okay, and now we're starting to come back. Doesn't mean I'm saying we come back to here today. However, this is excess in a completed profile. What needs to happen is for us to, in the ES, to hang out here. We need to hang out here with price. Okay, and we need to take this value and bring it up here. That will then make us go higher. Need to find acceptance and build volume and value up here. If we can't, we're going to return here. And can we bounce off it? We can, but we also can fall below it. Okay, that's why these levels are so important. Okay, the most traded price of the month and the week are together now in an area here. Bear bull line. Okay, bear bull line. Let's look at that Nasdaq. Remember, whenever I go over to Nasdaq, it's always kind of similar. Oh, we already know Nasdaq's a little stronger. Okay, Nasdaq is at 11,489. Price is right here. Okay, came up to a supply zone right here. found resistance. Okay, it's also atop of this couple of these highs here. So now we're starting to get some profit taking. Okay, now you notice here I don't want to confuse anybody, but there's a hot pink line here. This is the 24-hour most traded price of the month. That's 11,400. Okay. Then here is the RTH most traded price, which is about 113.30. Okay, so I use them in combination. I want to see what RTH, which is just 930 to 415, what the most traded price is for that, and then the 24-hour is the 11,400. Okay, so I just combine these. I'm going to say this is an area. Now, what do we have here? We have the most traded price of the week for the Nasdaq, and that is, it's being covered up here. Give me one sec. That is 112.10. Okay, that was a key level yesterday. I believe I mentioned that we had to go over in order to go higher, which we did. Okay, so we have a completed profile as well. Obviously, they're going to be similar, the ES and the Nasdaq, what's happening. Okay, but this area is just very congested. So we got the most traded price of the month and the week in this area. Okay, you can see to my left here all this congestion, all the trade that's happened here. That's why those prices are there. Okay, so very hard to read these large gaps up. Okay, but we'll have some levels we're going to look into. Okay, so we're pretty close to 100% net long. Okay, I would say it's about 90% net long. We opened here in the overnight, and all price did is go up. ES would be the same. Okay, so if we stay up here, there could be a fade. Could be. So let's go and look at the hourly charts. Hope they don't give me a problem like they did yesterday. Okay. All right, so this is definitely short covering. You can see this is pretty nice move, right? So what do we have here? Okay, so here's the gap. This is the ES. Here's the gap. There's that wick. Couldn't go down. So this is this. If we fill this gap, we still have a key level up here, and we still have supply up here. So I don't know how far we go today. Okay, we came a long way already. I don't know that, but I'm going to point out the levels. Okay, so we have gap. Now that gap zone, fulfill the gap, we're going to be 37.62.75 on the ES, the futures. That is the gap fill. 37, call it 37.63. Okay, so that's the gap fill. Then we have support at 37.35.25. That could be an area where we pull back to. Okay, we also have support at 37.17, and then of course at 3700. But the level above, okay, we have a triple resistance here. 37.72 resistance. And then keep in mind there's two supply zones overhead. This could be definitely be resistance, okay, this whole area. So I would caution longs when we get into that area. Okay, should probably be time to target, take some profit. Okay. Bunch of demand zones below us now. Okay. All points, maybe you can go for pullbacks. But we have to see how the market pans out. As far as this, not a lot to see with this parabolic kind of buying, okay? So I gave you my support levels. The main thing for me is, do we fill the gap? That's the main thing. Okay, let's go over to the Nasdaq. Okay, so Nasdaq. Key level here. Key. Right, I just talked about it in the market profile. 115.56. This has been resistance. Okay, all here, and it acted as resistance again. So that's a real key level for the Nasdaq. Okay, that's a very key level. Now support would be around this 115.01, and we've already kind of feeling some support right here because we dropped below it right now. Okay, in the overnight. Okay, so that's it for the Nasdaq. I mean, if we can't, and there's a supply zone here too. So if, here's the key, this is what's going to drive the whole market today. 115.56 is very key. If the Nasdaq can punch through that and then get through 116, the whole market's going higher. There's not much resistance here. Okay, we'll possibly move. I don't know about that today, but what would that be? That would be around into the supply zone. Let's call it 117 or 11,700 up into this area. So these two levels are very key for the overall market. Tech's a big portion of the S&P. That's really moves the S&P. So we break 116. Wow, that's gonna cause a nice rally. Okay, but we need to break it, right? We need to break it. And that's so that level one, that 115.56. If we can't break that, we come back and hold under 115.01, we could find ourselves back at 114.09. But this is all scenarios, right? So we have to see. All right, let's go over to the zoomed in profile chart so we can get a little scenarios for today. And to be pretty simple today. I'm gonna move this down a little bit. Same with this. Okay, so here's the ES. We're almost 100% net short. I mean net long. Okay, means almost the whole overnight is long. Where do we see all the activity? Up here, right? Here's all the volume. Okay, so with a gap, you obviously can get a gap and go. You could also get a gap and hold, or we come down and we fill the gap because we're gapping up right now. Gap fill would be the high yesterday. Okay, so lots of scenarios. I mean, but they'll be simple because, like I said, the Nasdaq is really important for the ES today. Okay, So the question is today, do we fill this gap? Do we fill the gap, right? If we stay up here and come to the highs and we can't fill the gap, you could get a little fade off the open. So first scenario, I could see is going higher, not filling the gap, squeezing, or not squeezing, liquidating these longs from overnight. And one or two things, you find support here and you go higher, or we fill the gap. Now filling the gap, we can go higher, or obviously we can start to go back. Okay, that's one. Okay, that's that to me, right? Yeah, there's so many things that could happen, right? So there's also squeeze these, come up, and then obviously we can just rip, come up here, and maybe, you know, bounce around here. And then obviously we could come up here, fail, come down here, fill the gap, and from here we either bounce or we can find us down in that bull bear line area that I spoke about, this area. You could find us come back down here and balance off. That's bearish. Okay, but it's really about the gap fill. Okay, either way. Now what I mean by that is either we fill this old gap here, or do we fill the gap we have tonight? I mean, overnight. Okay, because if we fill the gap and go higher, or we can come down, fill the gap and go lower, that's really like what I'm going to be looking at. Okay, now how everything ties in with the Nasdaq, because I spoke about it just earlier. So the Nasdaq has this level that's been very resistant, 115.56. Okay, and another level is 116. Okay, these need to break in order for the ES to move higher. They need to break. If Nasdaq can't break these levels, the ES is not going to go higher. Okay, same thing, volume up here in the Nasdaq, right? So I could see us pushing up, getting resistance at that level again, squeezing shorts, come back to this 114.09, and we could possibly start to make our way back up. And now what would we be doing? Squeezing the shorts, breaking this level, come up here, kind of find resistance, and popping higher, which would make the ES go higher. Okay, and then also we could come up, find resistance, squeeze the longs from the overnight, come down here, hit through these single prints. Single prints are old, I think. Forget about that, single prints, scratch that, my bad about that. And then come down here, the most traded price of the month, and then we bounce or we go lower, because we'd be filling the gap here. So real key, and I talked about this yesterday, is these walls, these most traded prices are magnets, right? So forget about up, down, up. It's basically, can we break this level? If we can, we go higher, which would bring the ES higher. However, if we can't and we come down and we fill this gap and we can't defend it and go higher, and we go below this magnet, we're going to go lower, at least to this most traded price of the week. Okay, this is how the market works. We have to stay above this level, the 113.30. We got to stay above it. If we can't, then we're going to come back down. Remember, I showed you the thinning out of the profile. Okay, so hopefully that helped you guys. And let's see, crude right now. Well, I'm loving this right now. Ooh, I'm loving this. Crude gapped up and it's gapping and going. That's good for me. Anyway, so I wish everybody good luck today. Please comment. Please leave me a like. Subscribe, share with other traders. I'm going to continue to do more shorts during the day on YouTube, to what I see, the levels, to what I see what the market could possibly be doing. Hopefully you guys are seeing those. And I wish everybody good luck today. And I'll see you tomorrow.